You want to know where Camp Ramah is? I can tell you.
It looks like most good camps. The cabins, athletic fields, the social hall, the lake, even the happy kids. This is Camp Ramah, and Ramah is different.
Coming from a place where I was certainly in the minority growing up as a Jew in Memphis, Camp Ramah became a magical second home for me, where who I was wasn't defined by my Judaism, but defined by who I was. I could be me in a Jewish community and not be the Jewish me that I had to be in a place like Memphis, where I stood out and my family stood out because we were unique in the community as Jews. It was a really magical gift I was given to be able to come to a place like this every summer and be who I was just for who I was, and not because I was Jewish, that I could be me, and everyone was Jewish, so we didn't have to define ourselves for each other in that light.
Take a good look at that boy's finger. That's a betrothed boy. I'm not kidding. That boy is betrothed and tied to a great purpose, and he knows it.
Say Kiddush, say grace. But more, as a Sabbath eve dissolves into the Sabbath morn, praise God in the same language that you cried, play ball. And prayer is something you learn to want to do.
I really think the role of camp is to allow kids to have the opportunity to live a Jewish life within a Jewish community, within a Jewish environment, that for many of them might not exist in the same way at home. And to be able to come to camp and to learn a Jewish text and to learn what it means to live a Jewish life within the structure of the conservative movement, the philosophy of the conservative movement, and then be able to live it and to talk about it and ask your counselors about that. There's nowhere else that you could get that.
There are a lot of American Jewish institutions that are Zionists and teach their members and their campers about a connection to Israel. But what I found so valuable about the way that Ramah taught us about Israel and even our experience while on Israel seminar was that it felt to me that Ramah believed that not only is Israel a very important place for Jews and that Aliyah is an important thing for Jews, but also that there's power in being in American Jewry. Israel is in every aspect of Camp Ramah. I think campers at camp learn that as American Jews, they're connected to Israel in a very special way, even though they're not living there, that it's something that can be integrated into their thoughts and their learning and their Judaism. I think having Mishloach at camp not only makes campers more interested in Israel because they know someone now from Israel, but makes Israel much less foreign and much more known, which is part of how Camp Ramah is trying to make American Jews feel about Israel, something that is much more like home. Having Mishloach at Camp Ramah not only allows campers to understand more about Israel, but also allows their world to broaden.
The friendships that I made at Camp Ramah remain my best friends and my only real true friends to date. They're kids that, without equivocation, I can count on. They're the kids that I hang out with now to this day. They're my best friends in the world. There's no doubt about it. they were friends that last. And it's changed my life forever.
The camp connections, the interpersonal connections, are very strong. People relate back immediately to the experience. I don't think that there was ever a time when the people who were important to me at that time became diminished in importance as the time passed. There's just no disconnect in the bonds that were established in those years.
For me, Ramah was this like Jewish community that I didn't have at home. And I think that as a camper, I never saw that. I just like went to camp and I played with my friends and it was so great. But as a counselor and as a college student, you understand that it is a community that you have, and it means so much to have that community there for you all the time. And while you develop it at camp, it's there for you throughout the school year. And I think you finally see that as a counselor. And it's more than just the key card, it's more than just canoeing. It's about the friends you make, but also the Jewish young adult that you become when you're there. And I gained that understanding when I was on staff.
In their arts and crafts, Ramah gives ample opportunity to the camper for creative self-expression. It's not curious that these Ramah campers pick Jewish themes for their works.
The arts program at Camp Ramah is truly second to none. Ramah provides a really unique environment where campers and staff are able to express themselves both spiritually and creatively within a beautiful, natural setting. Campers can paint while looking out over the lake. Campers and staff work together to create the things that are important to them. What's so incredible is that the art being created at Ramah reflects both secular and spiritual identities. The performing arts program at Ramah has come so far. I think the Ada plays, more than anything else, reserve a large part of the collective memory for those who have gone to camp. Not only were the Ada plays a chance for kids to have lots of fun and try something new, and perhaps even find new talent, the plays served as a unifying experience.
Chick-fil-A Ramah has been around for 30 plus years. If we want to integrate these kids 100% into this community, the theater arts would be a good way to do it.
Orange, yellow, hot.
And we've had campers have major leads in plays and actually be shining stars, and they have the opportunity to stand in front of everyone in camp and play the lead in a play. Chaverim program, we assign mentors and their peer mentors. It's an opportunity for them to socialize one-on-one. What anyone wants in camp is to have a good time and to have friends, to make friends, to sit and say, oh, to share experiences. We want our campers to be very, very successful, and we want them to know that there's a Jewish community that accepts them and welcomes them and embraces them with open arms.
In the early days of camp, we saw movies once a week, which, by the way, were in English, and at that time, Hebrew was really the spoken language of camp. If you weren't speaking Hebrew, you weren't likely to find your way to the washroom. That was really the case. Now, those films got delivered by a guy who came in an airplane that landed on the lake, because he ran the service between all the camps in the North Woods. So he would come on whatever day it was that he arrived, deliver your new film, and pick up the film that you had seen the previous week. And then he would take that film to another camp. And that's how that system worked. And this gentleman was the film service that brought the movies to camp.
come and visit, you'll see many new facilities. When kids first came to camp, there weren't the courts and the theaters and all of the equipment and all the opportunities that there are today. Just in the past couple of years, we've been able to renovate and refurbish and rebuild a whole sports complex, extend the waterfront program. We've added a beautiful space for staff, the Copen Center. Ultimately, fundamentally, Ramah's mission is very similar to when it started. I think if you were to wake up from 1947 and come visit the camp today, the inner core might resonate very much with the camp that you might have remembered from the early years as well, in terms of its spirit, commitment to Israel, to Hebrew, to building a dynamic Jewish community.